This is Maomao. She says she doesn't hate his father, but the problem is, the show keeps making it look like she absolutely does. So what exactly are we watching here? Maybe Maomao isn't fully sure about it either. If there's a character with such a complicated background and psyche, it's Maomao. But then, how exactly does that affect her relationship with her dad? What about with Jinshi, Gyokuyo, and the other people around her? And how many lies has Maomao told just to keep herself safe? I'm Lucy, a certified coach with a formal degree in psychology and behavioral science that for some reason looks very similar with Morgan from Wuthering Waves. And once again, we are digging into this character. So, hey, I'm back from a refreshing vacation to the world of Witch at Adlier. It's so good. It slaps, bro. My feet also get slapped to the ground though. But it's okay, we're all fine here. It's not all about the views, sometimes it's all about enjoyment. And so we are here today to once again opening the Maomao files. You see, in episode 24, Maomao explained a bit on how she actually feels about his biological dad, Lakan. It's a weird scene.
ジンシ様恨んじゃいません。こちらとしてはうまく命中させてくれたおかげでここにいますので。
他に言い方はないのか?
If you're like me, it's kinda like, I think that's not the point. And also Mama also mentions that Lakan was a bit duped by Fengxian, and it's awkward as hell that now Lakan's all over her, but I still think that's not the point. Look, it sounds depressing and cynical as hell for me to say this, but first, it's not like because he's your biological parent you're never gonna hate him. Second, Mama should really look at her own expression when the topic Lakan comes up. But also, we actually can explain Mama's response towards Lakan. It's true, looking at her past. So, in psychology, we have a concept called schema. In schema therapy, a schema is basically like an old mental blueprint. It tells you what the world is like, what people are like, what's your worth, what the relationships cost, what gets you hurt. Useful. But is it fair? Not always. Because once someone hits one of those old danger buttons, you don't react only to them, you react to the whole pattern behind them. And for Maomao, that blueprint was shaped in a very normal, very healthy childhood. By which I mean absolutely not. Maomao grew up in a high-class brothel, where care and transaction were constantly tangled together. The women around her did protect her, but they also had careers to survive. Love existed, of course, but so did money, lust, rank, power, and in Maomao's case, even knives. So when Lakan shows up, Maomao doesn't just see annoying biological father. So it's less about Lakan. It's also not a simple moral judgment. It's what Lakan triggers. Intrusion, danger, claim, and the possibility to being absorbed into someone else's power. No wonder her response is always oversized. But now the question is this. I don't want to say Lakan totally deserves it, but Lakan gives so many reasons for people to hate him. He acts strange, he looks like a hobo sometimes, he acts like a hobo sometimes, he's very intrusive, he's a public hazard, okay? But are you sure that Lakan is the only person that affected by Maomao's schema? Because imagine, Maomao is the main narrator of the series. We most times see things on Maomao's perspective. So, how much the story of the Apothecary Diaries is actually filtered through it then? What about Jinshi, Gaoshun, Basen, other high-ranking consorts? Is Maomao even truly the good guy here? And why is this series so goated? So in this video, I wanna answer those questions. And now, we have to look at Maomao's biggest patrons, Gyokuyo and Jinshi. And I swear it's not because I wanna talk about Gyokuyo. In the novel, Maomao continuously uses Gyokuyo as one of her safest excuses to reject Jinshi's advances, that is. And honestly, the math checks out. Jinshi is a prince, so being with Jinshi means Maomao's dragging herself into succession politics whether she wants it or not. And Gyokuyo is the current empress, after season 2. But if something happens to the emperor, with Gyokuyo's son still very young, this isn't a spoiler, I am not implying anything, Maomao will be pushed closer to the top. That smells fishy. Especially when you consider Gyokuyo is Maomao's patron. She gave her a job, you know? A position with lots of freedom, decent pay, And, at least for Maomao, a fulfilling job with free snacks. So then Maomao will turn into this stinky, ungrateful traitor that topples down her savior. Send the assassins, please. By the way, are we sure Gyokyo didn't plan this? Just to make sure that it's a valid excuse. No, not even valid. Perfect excuse. Politically valid, socially respectable, and morally noble. But knowing Maomao and her schema, I bet that's not the entire story. What I mean by that is, so Lakan is a schema trigger. So what's stopping Jinshi from becoming one too? The clue of it, I found it in Maomao's Japan voice actress interview. So on December 14, 2025, Yuki, the voice of Maomao, and Takeo Otsuka, the voice of Jinshi, both appeared at the release of the Apothecary Diaries Season 2 Blu-ray commemoration event at Ikebukuro. And then when both were asked about their opinion of the anime's best scene, Yuki answered with the scene from episode 48. It's this scene.
人士様の本質は見た目ほど華美じゃない。もっと実直なものだ。それは多分見た目の美しさよりもずっと価値がある。前より男前になったではありませんか。
And her explanation is also really interesting. She says that it feels like where their romance truly begins, even if only a little bit. Yeah, about that. But yeah, I completely agree with it. Because before that moment, there are some push-pull moments, but at the end of the day, it's either Jinshi versus the wall, or it ends up in someone's destruction. But around episode 47, 48, the threat of Maomao being entangled in troubles way beyond her status is like, there, real. Because now, she knows who Jinshi actually is, and Jinshi keeps relentlessly cornering Maomao in every scenario imaginable. Yeah, Jinshi is another schema trigger, the one she can't escape from. The difference is only that when Lakan threatens Maomao's independence by trying to drag her to examine the past, Jinshi is about the future. Jinshi symbolizes the danger of upward entanglement. Again, it's about Maomao avoids risking her already threatened agency from rank, obligation, and the kind of attention that can ruin lives if the wrong person notices. So, what's Gyokyo's role inside all that? Well, Gyokyo is a socially respectable, mathematically correct cherry bubblegum cover for a deeply avoidance pattern. And a really comfy one at that. It's like Maomao's safe haven. So Maomao uses Gyokyo as a shield, repeatedly. Of course, it's not like Maomao betrays Gyokyo by doing so. It's more like a teenager when they need an excuse before they get dragged by the extroverts. Ha! Look at that, boys. Maomao said no. Well, next time, I promise you. It's just that in this case, you're escaping your schema trigger. Again, in terms of politics, Gyokyo completely won Maomao over. Although personally, bro, if Maomao and Jinshi get together, Gyokyo will be there in the front seat eating popcorn. And by the way, it's also really telling how Suiren, when she feels something's wrong between Maomao and Jinshi, she emphasizes that Jinshi's just a human, as if she's trying to break Maomao's maladaptive schema towards people of power. You can totally see Jinshi as a schema trigger even before episode 48. I think you can even see plenty beyond Jinshi, as early as episode 6. In episode 6 of the Apothecary Diaries, Maomao's practically living a dream. She gets to taste actual poison in public. I think it's turning into a king. She gets to terrorize the palace ladies mentally, and she gets to crack a poisoning case. Just for refresher, in episode 6, Maomao finds poison in Gyokyo's meal, but the actual target is consort Lishu. Lishu survives because her lady-in-waiting, Kanan, swaps her meal as a form of bullying. And Maomao figures out both layers. 1, Lishu was a target. 2, Lishu's own ladies-in-waiting are mistreating her badly enough that it accidentally saved her life. Lishu's attendants are so bad at their job, they can't even bully right. Press F for Lishu, guys, she needs it. Yet at the end of it all, Maomao stops before the finish line. Maomao could clearly say to Jinshi that Lishu is bullied, it could cost Lishu's life, and termination is their least concern. But she doesn't. And the important part is this, Maomao knows what she's doing. She does this often, and it frustrates her so bad, she calls herself a coward. How is that related to schema? Well, everything. You see, throughout 2 seasons, Maomao is constantly balancing 3 things: survival, agency, and avoidance. She survives by becoming Jin's tool. That's how it all started in episode 2. Being useful and all is Maomao's game. She practices her agency by doing her principles, her hobby, her expertise as best as she can. Even when she is being used, she finds ways to choose how she's used. But avoidance is the third force. And this is where the schema lives. It's like this. She works diligently, but needs to hold back at the last steps. She builds relationships, but needs to hold back to avoid messy entanglement. It's as if she's trapped doing 2 polarizing things, being earnest, but then you have to stop. But of course, in Maomao's case, inside the Apothecary Diaries universe, it is beneficial. In the inner court, paranoia can save your life. But what the story don't tell you through Maomao is what it can cost people. And the Apothecary Diaries spends around 37 episodes to explore this idea. Maomao's fake hate is still just one girl trying to retain her agency. It's messy, a little unfair, but survivable. But what happens when the same emotional mechanism stops being private? Season 1 of the Apothecary Diaries takes it to the test. What happens when old wounds are shared by multiple people over years inside institutions, under powerful families, with the state itself involved? In Season 2, before the main conflict with the Shi clan explodes, the season drags Maomao into the leftover of the former emperor. Episodes 32 and 33 literally make Maomao investigate the curse around the late emperor. And the story basically forces us to look at the festering damage after the man passed away. The man is gone, thankfully, but the emotional fallout is still clocked in for work. In the Apothecary Diaries, pain doesn't disappear just because the person who caused it is gone. It's even worse. The pain lingers, gets inherited, sometimes masked into loyalty, while slowly intensifying hatred. And then those hatred converges, gets uniforms, weapons, and very bad decision making. By the time we hit the Shi clan endgame, this is no longer just a poisoning case. All those grudges turn into catastrophe. A really reckless coup plan gets revealed. Lolan, Shenmei, Shisho, and Surei, these actors, these perpetrators, whatever you want to call them, they start pointing guns at each other. Lolan turned against everyone. Shenmei, the main antagonist, gets betrayed left and right. Even their forces, they don't even know what to do anymore. Sounds familiar? In Maomao's case, her problematic past becomes avoidance, denial, emotional evasive maneuvers. But in the larger political story, that same logic becomes conspiracy, succession panic, rebellion, and children paying for crimes they didn't commit. Episode 48 even closes by dealing with what survives after the crackdown, which in this case, not a lot. The remnants of the Shi clan are executed. Kyoyu, the more lucky one, stays with Maomao without his memory. Suirei, well, at least she gets away from Janmei, I guess, but now her position is more awkward than ever, while being under close watch in Aduo's villa. Honestly, if I don't know that this is the Apothecary Diaries with all their gags, looking at Season 2 in psychological perspective is an exhausting view. Because the point of all this is that the Apothecary Diaries, especially Season 2, keeps showing the same pattern at every scale. Its private pain becomes perception, perception becomes coping, coping becomes structure, and structure eventually hurts other people. If I summarize Season 2 of the Apothecary Diaries, it's pretty apparent that malice, hate, grudges, festering resentment is basically the main topic. When we're talking about schema, it needs to be said that Maomao gets a pass because of the setting, first, and also she's the protagonist. There's a big reason why, in real life, Maomao's schemas are categorized as maladaptive early schema. It's the case of let's keep entertainment as entertainment. Adapt the good parts, leave the rest. But also, not all schemas are bad and cynical. I have schemas, and aside from being clinically depressed, I am fine. You also have schemas, beliefs, perspectives, whatever you call it. Come on, share it in the comment. It's not that I'm going to profile you and make content precisely based on it.